Session with Dr. Farid Holakouee.
Good afternoon. Welcome to In Session. I'm your host, Dr. Farid Holakouee, and I'll be with you for the next 2 hours here on Radio Hamra. Studio number to call in, 310-441-510-555. Sorry, I was reading the wrong number. 310-441-0555. You can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram, or like my page on Facebook to get updates on the show, or suggest topics or books for the program. And the shows are uploaded at the end of each week to my SoundCloud page and podcast on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. Again, our studio number, 310-441-0555. So didn't do a show Monday because of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, so we'll do the summary of last week's book now. But the book of the week for this week is Why We Believe by Agustin Fuentes. Why We Believe, Evolution, and the Human Way of Being. I just saw something about this book. Sounded very interesting, explaining why humans, we talk about what we believe a lot of times, but he's a anthropologist, I believe, and looking at, from an evolutionary perspective, why we might believe. So I think that sounds pretty interesting. Look forward to reading that and sharing it with you on Monday's show. Book of the week for last week that I'll talk about today is quite a book that I'm so happy I read, and will continue to read more of his work, Marcel Proust, Swann's Way by Marcel Proust, which is the first of 7 volumes or 7 parts of In Search of Lost Time. So in a way, it's considered all one novel, but it's essentially broken up into 7 parts, and this was the first one, Swann's Way. And you've heard me talk about adding literature or fiction more to the books that I talk about on the show, both for myself, but of course to discuss on the program. And every time I do, I'm happy that I have done that, and this book was no different. Marcel Proust, I'd heard his name many times and knew he was known to be a very deep writer, and that's really what you experience reading, for me at least, this book. Every time I go throughout the week, I'm reading the books. Of course, I felt like I was jumping back into his mind, not just a world where you're jumping into a story, but really into his mind, because the story is interesting and does capture you, but really you get more interested in the story because of how he describes the characters' thinking, their feeling, what they're going through. And there's so many moments where you're reading something, or for me, I would read something, I was like, oh, I never really thought about that, but that's so true. He makes so many explanations about what we go through as human beings in relationships, our feelings, family relationships, different things that you, in a way at times I was like, he's actually one of the best psychologists I've ever read, because what he's talking about is the human experience. Now, this book, one of the more famous scenes or things that people know about Marcel Proust, and especially it occurs in this book, Swann's Way, is about the Madeleine. So Madeleines are these French, kind of like tea or coffee cookies. You've probably seen them. They kind of look like seashells. And in the book, the narrator, who we in a way assume, or I've read, is supposed to be basically Marcel Proust in a way, but not directly as if this is an autobiography. He takes a bite of this Madeleine as an adult, and it takes him back to when he was a child, and his aunt would give him the Madeleines, would soak it in some tea and then give it to him when it was a little bit softened up. And so he takes this bite as an adult, and all of a sudden, all these memories rush back to him. And so in that way, it's like a instance of what we can call involuntary memory. It's how at times it's described. But basically, we've all had this experience. You hear a song and it takes you back to a certain time, where you smell something and you remember someone or something from your life. And so we see that all of a sudden he takes this bite, and all these memories just unfold, and he's trying to capture it again, essentially. And a lot of what he tells in the story is the way that he's recaptured this memory. And so Proust, actually, there's a book called Proust was a neuroscientist, which in a way is making a play, but also very true, that the way he talks about how we think feels very real. And I think you'll connect to that if you read from his writings, that the way we think about things, the way we experience things feels very much how he describes it, and you feel like you're in different people's brains or heads, so to speak. In that way, the narrator is telling a story, but there's a way he's an omnipotent narrator because he knows the thinking of different people. So there's a way where you know it's from this perspective of this man who also a lot of the story is told as he's a child. But then the middle section of the book, which is the longest section, is called Swann's Way. And in that part of the book, it's about Swann, Monsieur Swann, who is falling in love with this woman named Odette. And their love affair is quite fascinating, not necessarily, as I was saying, because the incidents are so interesting, but looking at the thinking and how they think about things. How he, what I thought he did an incredible job of doing is the way we idealize people or the way we think about people, recognizing how much of it is them, but how much more of it is what we fill in about them. So when people meet someone to date or for a relationship, we know that what we make of them in our mind is partially made up of who they are and what they've shown us, but also a lot of it is what we've made up in our own head. And so it's interesting seeing how he described, for example, he would see her face and imagine the face of this painting. And then it became kind of the same thing. And so he even would recognize that he wasn't so attracted to her, but she kind of became something different for him. And so it was interesting to see this exploration of how he thought of this woman and how he, of course, was trying to pursue her, but wanted to show he was interested, but didn't want her to get bored of him, and all those kinds of games, we can call them, but how they played out in his head and what he was trying to make of them with her, and how much he would be hurt by her in different ways. That also is very clear, and you feel his pain when she starts to lose interest in him, or he is not sure if she is with other men as well, or even other women, and he gets very concerned about that and jealous about that. And describing his jealousy was very interesting, how it would come and go, which is often the case with jealousy. You might feel it come back, but then when it goes away, you wonder how you were even jealous before. And so we see him go through all of these various types of explorations and things throughout the book. So it was quite fascinating. And what I thought was interesting, you read about 100 or so pages of him in love with this woman and pursuing her. And at the end, this is the last part of that section. This is a quote from him, Monsieur Swann. He says, "To think that I wasted years of my life, that I wanted to die, that I felt my deepest love for a woman who did not appeal to me, who was not my type." So it's quite interesting, in a way showing that he had created her to be something she wasn't, but also the ways that we try to comfort ourselves or make us feel better after things happen. And in a way, a spoiler, what you actually find out in the next section, when now he goes back to when he himself is now a child, which is going forward in time, the narrator, Swann has married this woman, but that's not really the focus of that. You kind of see it in passing, or after a while, near the end of the book, you see that actually the mom's name or the wife's name is that same name of that woman he was in love with. So that was quite fascinating. There's also in that section about his love for this woman's Odette, Swann and Odette's love affair, that there's a piece of music that becomes so important in their relationship or defines them. And so, again, it was this the importance of how we attach feelings, or a certain feeling is brought up by different things. A song could make us think of our love or a family member or someone, and now it is imbued with something different. It's not just the song anymore. The song in some ways represents them or represents our love for them, so now it feels different. And the last section of the book is called Place Names the Name. And also, there's some talk in there about names and how they give things significance. And I always think that's interesting when you think of someone's name, or how a name gets significance. And since the book is French, and my cousin Pega had a baby and they gave her a French name, Colette. Now that name Colette to me, which if you said it to me a year ago, maybe I'd say it's a nice name. Now it has so much significance because it's attached, and it is this baby, this little girl that I love very much. And so when I think of that name, I can't think of that word anymore without thinking of her. And so in that sense, it's a beautiful thing. But we experience this in life. You might meet someone, and I've talked about this before. If you see let's say their name on your phone, at the beginning maybe it doesn't feel like much, but once you start to feel closer to them or have more feelings, now that name, even the way it appears on your phone, will give you a feeling before you even see what they have said. Maybe butterflies, or that anxious feeling or excited feeling. And then over time, it might turn into a more loving feeling, a strong, secure feeling. But then let's say if the relationship does not work out, now it might even bring up anger or pain or other feelings. And eventually you might feel very heartbroken when you see that name, very sad, and a bunch of negative feelings. And then over time, that same name might lose that significance, and now you might not feel very much, which is interesting. So that same name goes through this whole evolution from almost meaningless to having positive associations, good feelings, to having some maybe negative feelings, and then going back to not being very meaningful at all. So that's interesting too. I highly recommend the book. And so I said it's a 7-part series, and I was contemplating, will I read the whole book essentially, or the whole series? And once I got to the end of the book and I was so moved by it, I ordered the next 5, so they'll come slowly, and then I'll probably read them not every week. I think it would be too much to read them back to back, even for the show and for myself. But I do want to continue reading the book because you essentially are getting a philosophy of life from him, from Marcel Proust. And I think that's true when you read any fiction. And we want to choose who we listen to wisely, because anyone can express their philosophy of life and we might be affected by it, but we do want to be aware of who we are listening to. And from my experience in reading this book, I found him to be someone that I did want to hear more from and learn more from, in understanding some of his mindset or view about life, about relationships, about love, even about time. The book is about in search of lost time, and he wanted to, Marcel Proust, to have an impact on people. And in a way, the book is about not wasting time, or how we reclaim time. And even at the end of the book, we see him trying to remember how it felt to be in this same street or in this same area. And it's so different. It's not the same. But he also says at the end of the book that really that place never in a way existed. And so it's interesting, his explorations on things like memory, where when we think of memory, we often think it's just a recreation of a real life event. But really, our memory is a creation in and of itself. Yes, it's, in a way we can say it's based on a true story, like we see in movies sometimes, where it's not really exactly what happened or some snapshot of time, but it's going to be affected by our feelings and different aspects of ourselves during that time, and also the ways we've remembered that event over time. Every time we retell a story, we are in some ways affecting that memory, and it can change. And this is even really important in things like testimony, when people are giving eyewitness testimony or things like that. The ways that the police or the investigators are asking the questions can affect how the person will in the future remember that the same incident, and it could actually in some ways affect what they remember and how they remember it. But the book itself, Swann's Way by Marcel Proust, I highly recommend it. It's like going into a deep dive into someone's brain. I really felt each time I was going to read some pages from the book, and it was hard to read just a few pages because you would jump into this mindset, into this mind, and into this story. So I'd usually try to read it in bigger chunks, but every time I did, I felt like I was going into not just a different world or place, but into someone's mind. And I think great literature comes when someone is able to convey the thoughts and feelings in their head as clearly as possible to you, the reader. And I felt that was done beautifully in this book. So I hope you will read from Proust. This was Swann's Way by Marcel Proust. Let's go to a commercial break. Studio number 310-441-0555. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Studio number 310-441-0555. Let's go to a caller.
Hello,
Hello.
Dr. Holakouee.
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Dr. Holakouee, I have a question about my divorce.
Okay.
I was married while I was 23, and after 4 months, I got divorced because my partner, he was addicting to gambling and to alcohol, and he was cheating on me. So I got my divorce. I got separated, and it took about a year to get my divorce. And right now I'm 34, and I met a couple guys, but the guys whom I'm meeting, they're Persian, and as you know, based on our culture, divorce is not acceptable. And as soon as I'm telling a guy that I have a divorce, they don't like it, and they're like, I'm not into the girl whom she already had a divorce. So I was wondering, how soon should I let a guy know that I was married and I have a divorce? And, I don't want the people judge me based on that. So can you just tell me your idea, please?
Sure. So just so I make sure I heard you right, you said you're 34 now?
Yes.
And then you were married at the age of 23 for about 4 years?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a few ways to look at this, or a few different aspects of it. One is how society, or specifically our Persian culture and society, looks at something which probably is wrong or makes too much of a negative emphasis on something like divorce, especially for a woman, which some of it comes from also the traditional mindsets about women and even purity and things like that, and that somehow I'm not the person they're marrying first. So we know that this is unfair, that we put a double standard where there is more of a negative emphasis for a woman gets divorced than a man. There's negative for both, but that's there. And so I would want that to change, but of course you can't just change that reality if that's how it is.
Right.
That's something we have to, unfortunately accept, and we can continue to change it over time. But in your experience right now, you have to be aware of that possibility. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean everyone is going to see it as negatively as everyone else. Some people will be less affected by that. The more traditional they are, they might be more affected by it, but it's something that's there. Now, your question of when should you bring it up?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm actually dating a guy, and I'm scared because as soon as I tell someone, the majority of them, they don't like it, and they're not going to keep dating. So I was wondering, maybe after 4 times, I have to let them know, maybe, because I'm pretty much sure that they like me, like my personality, but they just don't like the divorce, and it's not acceptable for their family. So
Yeah.
the guy that I'm dating right now, it's been about 6 months that we're dating, but mostly it was talking over the phone, and we just met 4 times. And I don't want to hide that, because finally I have to bring it up, but I'm just scared, how soon should I let him know, unless I have to know if he's serious about marriage, or, even though if it's just going for, friendship or not even a serious date, still I have to let him know or not.
Well, just so I understand, you said you've been talking for 6 months?
Yes.
I mean, so my first thought is in 6 months, it should have already been shared with him. I can understand you're afraid to tell them because of their judgment, but we have to be aware that when we're meeting someone and wanting to get to know them, we want them to know the real us and know everything, and we're not going to, in some way trick them into liking us and then reveal something feeling like it's too late now, or they might feel like it's too late. So I can get that you don't like telling people because you've had this reaction from, it seems like, several men. But I think it's something to let them know sooner than later, because there's a few things. One is there's lying, which is definitely wrong. So if someone asks you, let's say if they asked you if you've been married and you say no, I would say that's very wrong. The other thing is hiding something that you know might be significant. And that's in another way of dishonesty. So it might not be exactly lying, but in a way it is lying. If we know something, let's say if you found out this guy you're talking to had 4 kids, but he didn't tell you for 6 months, you'd probably be like, whoa, that's a big deal. Now, I wouldn't say being married is the same as having a few kids, but if you know it's significant and you're holding it back, it has the same element of dishonesty to it. So I think it's important to let them know. First of all, you said maybe it's not he might not want something serious.
Relationship. So I was like, what's the point to let him know, unless I realize that I'm serious about this guy, or to realize that how serious he is about me. Maybe that's the time that I have to let him know. I was confused.
Well, I'm trying to also understand what's happening here. If you've been talking for 6 months, but there's no conversation about if it's serious or what's going on here. Like how are you getting to know him? What is your plan with this? I'm assuming it's long distance if you're saying you only saw each other 4 times after 6 months?
Yes. Well, actually, I know him through online dating apps.
Yeah.
And, since he is in a field, like in a major of education and the field of the job opportunity that I'm going to earn at, so I was really interested into him, and I really didn't think that he maybe liked me, but I mean, I wasn't serious about him, even though I did really like him the first time that I met him. But since I realized that he has feeling about me, so I think that I'm scared, and I wasn't sure yet that is this the time that I have to let him know, or maybe if he's serious and he asks me that I have to be his girlfriend.
Well, so what I also hear you're saying is you're afraid to lose him, which...
Exactly.
But we can't let that fear make the decision for us of what we do. I understand you don't want to lose him, and so you're thinking, well, what if I tell him and I lose him? But do you really have him if you aren't able to be your whole self or share everything about yourself with him? So you don't really have him either. Yes.
Okay. The problem is actually doctor, I'm studying data science.
Okay.
So he's in the field of the PhD of computer science, and he's working for a very great tech company. And he really helps me in my education, and he can help me for like the job opportunity. And he likes me. We have a great friendship. So I was trying to keep it. I didn't want to mess it up with a relationship, like a serious relationship. So that's why that I was like, I'm happy with what I have right now. And because my priority is right now my education and my job. So I wasn't that much serious about a serious relationship. But since I feel that he has feeling, and, I don't want to make him mad, or, I don't want to mess it up. So I was like, I cannot play with him. So still I'm scared. And I'm thinking that should I just, keep it like as a friendship, or if I really like him, I'm not sure. I probably might lose him if I tell him.
Well, in a way, it seems like you want to have everything and not lose anything, but you really can't do that. And right now, it might feel like in this moment it's working, but it can't last like this forever. Unless either he's just going to be a friend, like not romantic relationship, or you want to pursue something where you could lose some things. Yeah, if you it doesn't work out or you break up, you might lose his professional type of guidance or ways that he can help you too. But it seems like you're trying to freeze everything in time and just have nothing change, but it's really not possible. So you're going to have to go forward in some way with him. I think being more clear, if you realize, I think he's a good professional, and from my education he can be helpful, and I just want to keep it there, you can do that. But I think you're afraid of losing everything, and also the way you talk about him and maybe what you experienced in your previous relationship. I'm wondering what you look for in a partner as far as what you think you deserve or what you think they see in you, that maybe you're not giving yourself that sense that you deserve someone who's going to want to treat you well and be a good partner. And And if this person doesn't, you'll find someone else. But it seems like you're coming from a place of, I won't be able to have another opportunity. Sometimes people talk about scarcity mindset, where there isn't a lot of options or choices or things. And so you're just trying to hold on to everything. And that's a sense I get. You're trying to hold on to him as a friend, a personal person, but you don't want to lose this, you don't want to lose that. So let's just see if we can keep everything exactly how it is. But, things don't happen. It's not in a vacuum, or it's not frozen. It's going to keep getting, your feelings for him will get more, or maybe his will. We don't really know.
Exactly.
And so I think it could be important to clarify. Have you guys, has it turned into a sexual relationship?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know if he's looking at this as a short-term type of a thing.
Well, you know what, doctor? He doesn't like kids, and I like kids.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe we won't go for marriage, because probably it just doesn't work. But I know that he has feeling and he likes me, and and I'm not sure that if I have to change it for a serious relationship, because I understand that after 6 months you have to clear your relationship.
Yeah, earlier than that probably, but you're at 6 months. Yeah. I mean, also, not to say it's late, but at 34, when you're saying you want kids, but you want to pursue someone that doesn't want kids, that's also something I think worth asking yourself what you're doing there.
At the moment, you know what, doctor, it's just because he's helping me a lot about the education, about the job opportunity. He's able to make it, so that's why. And I'm thinking that I have to make my education and get the job opportunity. So that's my priority rather than my relationship.
Okay, but then why would you turn it into a romantic or sexual relationship if you want it to be just professional, educational?
I didn't want to start it up, but maybe I just messed it up.
Well, I don't know, or maybe you thought that's what he wanted and you didn't want to lose him. I get the feeling,
right.
The feeling that you're giving in a lot of ways is afraid to lose more than what do I want to get.
Exactly.
And that makes us approach things very differently, because afraid to lose means, okay, also don't do anything he doesn't like, including don't tell him about my own past.
Right.
And after 6 months of talking, well, maybe it was more in a professional way at some points, but if someone doesn't know about your marriage, they don't know you very well. I mean, you were married for, I think, at least 4 years, and it took a long time. So I don't think he knows you very well if he doesn't know about that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Exactly.
So
right.
I think, maybe even before the marriage, but there does seem to be a way of you're so afraid to lose something. What actually ends up happening is we can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where we do lose everything, because if we try to keep everything kind of okay, we usually don't let anything actually become real, and that leads to everything falling apart. So you might not get anything. You might lose him in every way because you didn't want to really make a clear decision of what you want and tell him, I think this is a good professional or friend relationship, but not romantic or sexual, or whatever it might be, letting him know. Or you might go for it and try to have a romantic relationship, knowing you might lose those other things, but hopefully having faith that it's not that he's the only way you can make it in your field. I'm sure he can be a great help, but even without him, you can also find other people to help you, and you on your own can do a lot. But you're making it, there's a lot of anxiety driving your decisions. I don't want to lose him, so I shouldn't tell him this. I don't want to, do it on my own, so I can't push it this way. I want kids, but if he doesn't want kids, I don't want to lose him, so I should just stay here, and maybe my professional life won't keep going forward. So there seems to be the fear and anxiety driving your decisions more than what do you really want and getting what you want to be happy. It's more just not to lose something, rather going to what you want to actually get.
Right. So basically, do you think that I have to let them know the first time that I'm meeting them?
Possibly. I think the first time it can make sense. It depends on how serious you are with them and how long you've been talking. Let's say if you've talked to them, 1 or 2 days. Sometimes on online apps you meet, and I always recommend seeing each other in person. Everything is a little bit different with coronavirus, where seeing people can feel different. But I always think it's good to see each other quickly. So if it's a short meeting, you don't necessarily have to. But I think early on, it is important for them to know. Just like, well, let me ask you: would you want to know if they were married?
Of course.
Okay, so it's the same kind of a thing, and to know. And look, if someone can't be with you because you've been married before, then they're not going to be the person for you. They're not going to be a partner for you if they can't accept that. So someone has to be open to accepting that. So it doesn't mean you have to say hi. The first thing you say is that I've been married before, but pretty early on they should know. Just like with kids, with this guy, for example, he's told you he doesn't want kids. That's important for you to know. And I would also say important for you to think about, well, what am I doing going forward pursuing someone who doesn't want kids? When I'm saying I do want kids, and then if you put time into this, you lose that time, and then you also, it takes time to recover from a breakup and to meet someone else. So are you giving up that opportunity? Again, from this fear of losing, you might actually lose the things that really matter to you if having a child is very important to you. Is that something you really want?
No, you're right.
You do want? No, what I meant is having a child something you really want?
Yes, I really want to have a kid one day.
Yeah. And so what happens is when we let anxiety make the decisions for us, a lot of times we try to prevent bad things from happening, but we actually lose the things we actually want. And so you could end up in a place where several years from now you're still in the same situation, and then you want to have a child, and then it becomes even harder to have a child and to meet someone then when you're older and want to have a kid. So I think be aware of how much the anxiety is driving I'm afraid to lose this. And even with him, it seems like you weren't sure what he wanted, so you didn't tell him from the beginning, I've been married before, let's say. And maybe even if he wasn't interested in that way, you could have pursued a professional friendship, and maybe you thought, well, he doesn't want that unless he thinks there might be something in it for him. But I do feel like there's a lot of the decisions are coming from what you're afraid you can't get or won't get and what you might lose. So I hope you'll be more clear with him for yourself.
Sure.
It doesn't mean, and being clear, it doesn't mean you get what you want. Being clear, sometimes you lose something, but then you end up getting something better later on, or at least you know what you're getting is what you actually want. So good luck with that.
Uh-huh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Nice talking to you. Have a good day.
Yes, well, thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. Okay, let's go to another commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's go to another caller. Radio Hamra, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello, doctor. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to speak English because I don't want my voice to go in Persian, and so first I apologize if my English is not as good as you.
That's okay. Yeah, and on my show it's good. It's only in English anyway, so that'll work. And don't worry. So far, it seems like you're speaking quite fine, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'm 40 years old, and I live in Canada, and I have a 17-year-old son. And it's about 2 years and 2 months that I'm in a relationship with a Canadian guy who is about 52 years old. And our relationship was going very well. Everything was so good until exactly before Christmas. Around Christmas, everything started, and we were so good. We live in separate houses. He has his own place. I have in my own place, and he has a son from his previous marriage, who is as old as my son, but they don't live in this city. They live in another city, which is around an hour drive, the distance. And because of the COVID, at the beginning of the pandemic when it started, because his son has not more than one girlfriend, he himself had told me that he has many girlfriends, and he lives with his mom in another city. And at the beginning of the pandemic, he came to his home, and he told me he's there. And I said, it's very dangerous because you're over 50 and I'm 40 years old, and we have to be careful. Everyone must be in their own bubble. And he said, okay. I will tell him. But again, after 2 months, again he came to his home, and this time he brought his girlfriend with him too. And again, I found out that he's at his home, and I can say I lost my temper, and I said that you promised me not to see him. Not only he has come to your home, he has brought his girlfriend, and they're sleeping at your home and using everything, and it's dangerous. We don't know who that girl is and what other people she's seeing, and also your son and his mom. He doesn't know that his ex-wife has boyfriend or not, and what is she doing. He doesn't like her at all, and he tells me I don't talk to her, just only because for the son.
Mm-hmm.
And that time, it was about 9-10 months ago. I don't know, it was just about the beginning of the pandemic. And then the second time, this time that he came to his home with his girlfriend. So I got mad and I said, for 2 weeks, I won't see you. We will be in quarantine. And after 2 weeks, because at his job, he goes to work, he's a civil engineer, and his work, he's alone, he doesn't see anyone. And I said, okay, for 2 weeks we don't see each other, and after that, but because I love
Let me stop you there for a second. When you said he promised you, did he promise you? Like he said, I will promise you I'll never have him back? How did he say it to you?
No, he had promised. He said, okay, I won't see him just because of the pandemic, or if I see him, we go somewhere outdoor, putting on masks, like that. But he broke it, and again, his son came to his home with his girlfriend this time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
And what I would say is, I know you said you lost your temper and now it's past. What's really important is when of course we have feelings, so it can be hard to say everything in the most, appropriate way or the best way in the moment. But we want to make it clear what we're upset about, because you were upset about him coming, but I think really what you were more upset about was that he didn't keep his word with you. So that would be important to emphasize. This is what is upsetting me. This is what hurt me. Not just he does this, getting into the details of how many people they maybe have seen, which might be part of the conversation, but making it more clear, I'm upset that you broke your word with me. Really making it clear what our upset is about. Of course, it's related to COVID and the risks that are involved, but it does seem that for you, that was the biggest thing, was that he broke his word.
Yes, actually. The thing is that it was not the first time he lied to me.
Yeah.
First of all, I have to say he's a guy who really loves me, and he's always there for me, and financially he supports me a lot, and he's spending a lot of money for me and my son, and he really loves me, all of this. But I don't know, my problem with him is he sometimes tells some very small, trivial lies that he doesn't need to do that. I don't know why he does that. For example, first day I saw him, we met in a restaurant, and he told me he's only 4 years older than me. And because his appearance is very good, he's good looking, his hair is black and everything, not black, brown, and he has good hair, he has good skin, and everything is good because he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink. And so he told me, later I found that I saw his driver's license, and I saw he's 12 years older than me. And I didn't tell him anything. For 1 year, I kept it secret. I didn't tell him.
Hold on let's stop there. A few things. First of all, I wouldn't say that's a small thing that he was 8 years older than he told you. When you're saying he tells me these little, barely lies that are not important, that's pretty important. And you not telling him for a year is kind of its own lie. I mean, the previous caller, we had a similar kind of conversation about when you're not telling the truth, when you're withholding something. It seems like you were holding, it's like you had a gun and you had a bullet in the chamber ready for whenever you wanted to release it.
Yes, exactly.
And that itself, and so this seems to be a problem you might have with him. I don't think you actually want him on the surface to hurt you, but maybe unconsciously you almost like this pattern of him doing something and you get to be the angry one. So there could be almost a codependency in your relationship with him where he's kind of the bad guy and you're the good one. So it seems like, if you're telling me 1 year in this beautiful, lovely relationship that you knew he was 8 years older than he was telling you, I don't know.
12 years. 12 years.
Oh, sorry, he was 8 years older than he told you, right?
He told me 4 or 5 years. And then the thing is, I liked it. He was 12 years older than me. I don't want to go out with a very young guy who just wants to try other women. I thought, oh, it's very good that now he wants to settle down. So I didn't say anything, and he told me later that when I saw you, you are so beautiful, and I don't look like 40. Outside people, when they find out my age, they get shocked. Oh, you don't look more than 25. Always people tell me. And he said, you look so young and beautiful, and I really love you. I was scared if I tell you the truth, you don't accept me and don't go out with me. And I just, when I told him after a year, because one night he told me I have to go to see two contractors that tonight they have a flight. They are going back to Toronto, so I must visit him. I must meet them in a restaurant. It's for a very important contract I want to make with them. And I believed, and that night he went, and he didn't call me at all because always we are in touch. And that night he kind of disappeared. He didn't answer his phone, and I couldn't find him. And later in the morning around noon, he answered his phone, and I was kind of suspicious, and I said, I have to know where you slept last night, where you were. And finally it came out that he told me we were in downtown with some friends in a restaurant, and it was someone's birthday. And then I found out some girls or women came there were in the restaurant with them. And then he started saying, please forgive me, because those people drink a lot, and I know you don't like drinking alcohol, so that's why I was just scared I didn't tell you. So his friend called me and talked to me and said, I was with him, he hasn't cheated on you, he just they were some people that he was afraid if you don't like them, and he didn't want you, but it was our boss whose birthday was, and we couldn't say no to him. And that was the second lie he told me. And after talking to them and some things, and he just begged me, he almost cried. Well, didn't cry, but almost, and he had tears, because I said, I'm going to break up with you. I don't want to be with someone who lies. I never lie to you. Why do you lie? And it's finished. After that,
well, it's not finished. It's not finished because you still don't trust him. So
yeah, that was that time that he said, no, I never lied to you. This is the first lie. I said, okay, you never lied to me, so tell me, how old are you? And again, he said the same lie about his age. But this time, I think 7, 8 years, something like that. But still, he didn't say. I said, tell me the year you were born. And he was about to cry. He was driving, and he was so devastated. He didn't know what to do. And he said 1972, and I said, how about 1968? And he was shocked. And I said, it's a year, I know your age. I was waiting for you to see if you want to tell me the truth or not. But again, still you are looking in my eyes and tell me you're lying to me. Mm-hmm. And he again started begging me, please, I cannot live without you, and things like that. And I forgave him, or as you say, it was not finished, but because I really love him too, I tried to ignore it and forget about it and finish. After that, after a year, this is another lie that that was another lie he told me about his son. And when I was leaving his home, I went to his home door and I said, you lied to me, and we are not going to see each other for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I see you. And when I was leaving his home for the first time in our relationship, he swore. He said a bad word to me because I left him and I said, I won't see you for 2 weeks. And he's a kind of guy, in 2 years, I never saw he losing his temper or using bad words. He never gets angry. And he never laughs with a very loud voice. Always is a very sensible person. And it was the first time he did that. And I got so mad. I went home and I said, I never use a bad word. I don't like impolite people. And he said, again, he started saying, apologizing and sorry. I didn't want to, but he's my son. I cannot tell him, don't come to my home. What can I do? And I said, lots of parents are not seeing their kids. he lives in another city, and not only him, he brought his girlfriend, and we didn't see each other for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, everything again back to normal. And after these, 9 months, something like that, this Christmas, about a month ago, again he lied to me. That this happened that one night on December 26th, he didn't came home at night again. And he told me that he has a very giant, they have a giant project in somewhere which is about an hour drive in north of the province that we live, and it's a very cold place. And he's there, and he said he had to sleep there that night. I said, why was your cell phone off? And he said there was no power to turn on my phone. And I said, in that cold weather, freezing weather, you slept somewhere that there was no power there. We are living in Canada. We are not in Bangladesh or.
Let me stop you there for a second, because we're about to go to commercial break anyway. But yeah, the pattern you're sharing, as I said, it's almost like in some way you want him to be lying to you. I know that sounds strange, but there's something about this pattern that it's like it's happening over and over again. And I don't know, and you might not like to hear this, but it's more than likely these 3 or 4 times you know that he lied to you. He lied to you more than that. I mean, I don't think you've caught him. I'm sure you're good at what you're doing, but you're probably not batting 100% as far as every time he's lying, you're catching him. And so there seems to be something that he always has. Well, I couldn't tell this person, my son, I couldn't tell the boss or whatever the reason is, and somehow lying to you is an acceptable solution. But we'll continue after the break. Of course, you can finish this story, but there does seem to be some cycle here that you have with him where he lies or he does something wrong, and then you punish him, and then things are back to normal, and then it happens again. So we'll put you on hold. Let's talk some more after the break, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, I really don't know what to do.
Yeah, we'll talk some more. Okay, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, we're with a caller. Let's go back to her now. Caller, are you still there? Hello?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Okay. So we were talking before the break. We kind of had a cliffhanger there. You were telling a story of just about, I guess, a month ago where your boyfriend he said he was at a city that was very cold, but also then did not respond to you and said it was because there was no power, but you were suspicious because you're saying, how could there be no power if you're in a very, very cold city? So I'll let you complete that story, and then we'll get back to looking at the bigger picture of the relationship.
Yeah. And then that thing about not having power there, he later told me he slept in the warehouse, and there was no outlet, but it was not cold. I have no idea about it. I don't have any clue. I don't know what he's talking about. He said, you have to believe me. I'm not telling you any lie. And that's all. I said, you could go to your car and charge the phone and just let me know. I was worried for you because that road is very dangerous, and I was scared if you had an accident, you didn't come home. I was not thinking about lying. I was just so worried. Even when around noon, I left home to go to his home to see what's going on there, to find him. I was even worried if he had a heart attack at home, anything has happened, why he's not answering, why he's not responding. And I told my son that I'm going to check on him, and if I don't find him, I have to call the police because he's disappeared. And when I was driving his home halfway, I suddenly saw him driving his home, and I was behind him. And he went home, I went home, he pretended he hadn't seen me. I'm sure, absolutely sure he saw me later. He said, I was not sure it was your car or not. That's not important, but I talked to him. I said, where were you? He said, I'm coming back from work. And I couldn't believe him. And, it was a big argument happened between us that day. And I said, I have to, he said, I can take you and show you where I slept. And I think maybe it was my mistake. I said, no, it's a very long drive. I don't want to come and see. But he said, I can take you right now. Let's go and show you where I slept. There was no outlet. It was a warehouse. I slept there. The thing is, doctor, one thing I forgot to tell you, that he really loved me. I know that. And when he met me, I think during these 2 years, he really put himself in a lot of financial things to make my life better. For example, he changed my car. He bought a very expensive car for me, and he's paying for lots of stuff for my son's school, for my rent, everything. I never asked him. He always said, "I love you so much. I don't want you to have any pressure. I want you to be relaxed," and things like that. So gradually he did everything himself. And he says, because I have to pay all these payments, I have gone through a very big contract, and I'm working hard. Even on Saturdays I work. I just want to make sure that everything is okay. Because his son goes to a private school too, and his ex-wife is so demanding, always asks for thousands and thousands of money from him, and he has to pay for them, for us, for himself. And he has a very expensive car, so his car payment, my payments, and everything, he says these are all the things. And one other thing is that once in a while, he used to do some testosterone shots himself. And then I changed our family doctors. I found a very good family doctor and about some months ago. And this family doctor about 2 months ago told him to stop every shoot. And after that, after a month, your blood becomes clean. I will give you a blood test, and then I will tell you how much testosterone you need and what other stuff. So don't use any supplements, anything. And he did it about 2 months ago. And she had to ask him after a month. He goes to her and do this checkup. But because of the very big contract that he's doing and a lot of work that he's doing, he didn't go there. So I am just thinking maybe it's because of the lack of testosterone, because he hasn't gone there yet. And the thing is, after that day on 26th of December that I don't know where he slept, and all the big arguments that we had, I left his home, I cried, and I left. I said, no, I'm sure you are cheating and you have done something, you are not. And I said, give me your phone. He gave me his phone, and I went through his phone number. I didn't see any, for example, any woman's number, any messages. I went to his text messages with his son, and I saw his son was written in one of the text messages. He had written, "Dad, I had a very good day with you," and it was about 2 days before. So I read the message, and I asked him, when did you last see your son? And he again said, months ago. I haven't seen him. It was months ago. I said, it's months, many months. Yes, you told me not to see him, so I'm not seeing him anymore. And I said, are you sure you haven't seen him? It's months that you haven't seen your son? And he said, yeah, I haven't seen him for months. I said, 2 days ago, he has written, Dad, I had a good day with you. And he was freaking out. So quickly he called his son. He said, yes, I was with him only for 2 days, because 2 days ago I just went out with him. It was his birthday. I wanted to give his birthday gift to him, and he wanted to see me. And I found out that his son and his mom, they were somewhere that he was so close to the place that he's telling me he's working there with a giant contract that he has made. So I was so confused. I couldn't understand. I said, oh my God, is this about 2-3 weeks that he's going to that north of the province there, about 1.5 hour drive? Is he there with them? And he's telling me I have a project, and I started accusing him that I know that place is a very expensive place there, a tourist place. Yeah. And I said, I'm sure you're spending time with them. You have brought them there, and you're spending the time. You tell me you go working there, but you're spending. And he started, no, you have to believe me. I just saw him for 1 day. I took him to a mall and bought some stuff for him as his birthday gift. And I said, no, you're lying. So he called his son and put it on speaker and asked him, when did I see you last? And he said, 2-3 days ago we went out together. And did we see each other after that? He said no. And then he hung up, and I said, did you see, I'm not lying to you. The only reason that I didn't tell you because you had told me I don't have to see him because of COVID. So I didn't want to break his heart, and I went out with him, and I didn't tell you. This is the only lie that I told you. You have to believe me. But
Yeah,
Doctor,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if you. It's interesting hearing when you talk about him. You know, you're saying you're confused. Sometimes I'm getting confused because you're prosecuting him and then you defend him. Like you say how bad he is, and then you say, you know, oh, he's paying
because these
for.
are two aspects of him, Doctor.
I
cannot
understand.
figure it out at all.
Yes, but I think you're not paying attention to what he's really. You know, even the things you're telling me. Well, does he have to have such an expensive car? You know. I don't know. These expenses don't really make sense. It's like he wants to make sure everyone sees him a certain way, but he doesn't really care the costs that other people are paying, like you're paying in this relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're kind of,
Yeah.
you justify, well, he has to. Why does he have to? He shouldn't get you. You know, if he's saying, you have to ask yourself, is it worth? He gets me a more expensive car, but then might lie to me or become this kind of a person because of it, or he uses that as an excuse. And every time he lies, it seems like, you know, there seems to be some narcissism with him, the way you're describing him, that whenever he gets caught, then he becomes the victim, you know, poor me, that I'm the one, you know, I had to lie to you because everything is so difficult for me. That's something, has a manipulative flavor to it, and you're accepting it because it seems like you're, I think you're more. It's actually interesting. The book I was talking about today, Swann's Way, I was talking about the way we idealize. I feel like you're more in love with some idea of him than actually him.
What does it mean, idea of him?
Well, I mean, he's like this
explain it
wonderful man, but he's lying to you in these big ways. And then every time he's lying, you know, and when what you're describing is like you're being, I don't know what it's called in Canada, but kind of like an FBI agent, like you're following him, you're checking him. I mean, there's no trust in this relationship. You don't trust him right now if he says, I have to go do something, and then when he lies, it's always like, but I had to lie. That doesn't also show the remorse of, you know what, it was very wrong that I lied. I didn't have to lie. That was my choice. So he doesn't really take responsibility for his dishonesty, and you just accept it. It seems like you don't want to lose him. And like I said, there's something about this cycle, I don't know, in your past relationships, in your marriage, or, you know, something about this dynamic seems like it's familiar to you or comfortable for you, even though it's driving you crazy. But there's something about this that seems like you're used to it. Okay, he's going to lie and I catch him. You know, even the way you said you knew for a year, that to me is very, very, you know, from your side, even suspicious of what were you doing holding on to that lie for 1 year? I'm not sure what you think you were doing with that. Was it you were waiting to see, does he tell me? Was it a test to see if he will tell you?
No, I think number one reason was that I had no problem with his age, and I liked him even.
I know, but see, okay, but then you have to be, but I know, but hold on. Then you can't tell me his lying is so bad when you're saying the lie didn't, I'm okay with him lying. See, the thing with lying is not always that the thing we're lying about is the problem. It's the fact that we lied. So if someone says I went on a date and they're 33 and they told me 31, that's not really a big of a difference. It doesn't really matter that much, but the fact that they lied about it is a problem. It's not the fact that 31 and 33 might not even matter at all, but I would be a little bit, why are they lying in that way? So the fact that he lied to you, it seems like you didn't want to mess things up, or you were holding on to it to use it against him. But either way, to me, that's strange that you wouldn't be like, look, I know you're not, I think he told you 44 when he was 52 or something like that. I know that's not your age. Like, what's going on? And so he was showing you that he's lying or being dishonest, but you kept getting closer to him. That's why I want you to see that there's something about this cycle that seems comfortable for you. I know on the surface you would never say, and no one would ever say, I want someone to lie to me. But there seems to be something here that you almost want to be confirmed that he's not trustworthy, maybe that men are not trustworthy. Is there anything like that in your past about men, either your ex-husband or let's say your father, being not trustworthy,
no,
lying?
The thing is, my father was so good and loyal to my mom, and he never did such things. And also my ex-husband, he was so dependent on his mom and sisters, and he was very impolite and rude, but not things like lying, going out with a woman. Maybe because I never loved him, I didn't care. We had separate lives those days when I was in Iran, and then I divorced and came to Canada.
Okay. So
I don't think I had some, maybe one reason, I don't know, do miss him these days because from that day we haven't seen some other things happened, I can tell you, but our relationship is completely has stopped, I can say. And I I don't know, because I have his home key, and sometimes I go there and I check, I see he has put my pictures everywhere, and I'm sure he's not with any other person. Even I went today in the morning, I saw he has put another picture of me and him in his living room, but he's not calling me, and he's not, because because I really lost my temper. I got mad and I called his son names, and I called his ex-wife's name, and I said, I'm sure that woman has found out about the relationship, that you are taking care of me and my son a lot, so she's trying to come between us and ruin our relationship. And he just, I don't know, hundreds times he tried to tell me, he texted me and called me, and then I blocked his number, and I think it broke his heart a lot when I blocked his number, but after 3-4 days I unblocked it. So he started, when he saw I have blocked him, he texted me by WhatsApp.
But even you're telling me the ex-wife is trying to mess things up. Why aren't you looking at what he's doing? Even you're giving him an excuse that the ex-wife is ruining the relationship, trying to get in between. He's the one that's lying to you. She's not lying to you.
I don't know, but I have seen a lot that ex-wives sometimes...
Of course they can do lots of things. Exes can do lots of things.
Your son is missing you.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like I said, you do this thing where you tell me about how bad he is, and then you defend him so strongly and make him completely not guilty, which is what I think you're doing. Something, like I said, I feel like you're more in love with some image of him or something. You said he's handsome, maybe there's something there. Even the way you're in love of this image of he's taking care of you, it seems like he can't. If he has to take care of you and then lie or then become stressed out and do these things that you don't like, then he's not really taking care of you so much. There's also that side. I don't know. There's something to me where you're not really wanting to see him and see this relationship as it is. You told me it's so beautiful. I'm sure there's a lot of good times you're telling me about these incidents that were negative, but there seems to be something unhealthy about the relationship that you might not want to acknowledge.
And I really don't know exactly. I don't know what to do, because we were every day we always had things to talk about. We were always laughing, and everything was awesome. Everything was so good. And whenever he said
the sound is coming. Your sound is not coming in okay. I don't know.
Pardon?
Your voice wasn't coming in okay. I wasn't sure if it was my headphones, but for about 15 seconds I couldn't hear you.
I want to know if I am too sensitive about his...
No, lying is not okay. Lying is not okay. I think you know that. It's not okay for him to lie. Doesn't you're buying into his story of, I had to lie and the boss was going, oh my gosh. No, just tell me the truth. And I think, again, the age, you didn't want to mess it up yourself. I know you're saying, I like that he was older. Well, then tell him, hey, I actually like that you're older, but I don't like that you lied to me about your age. And that's going to affect our trust, which it clearly has. You don't trust him, and I can understand that you don't trust him, but I think you're discounting that, and you're blaming yourself now. I got too mad. I don't know what you said, and obviously if the words are bad words, we can't say them on the air anyway, but you got mad at him, but it's understandable you got mad. But if he's not telling you the truth seriously enough, you're not taking it seriously enough either. It should be non-negotiable. Lying is not okay in a relationship. Several times about major things, because I wanted to make sure, I get the feeling either he's a people pleaser or there's a narcissism there, where either he wants everyone to like him or keep the peace, like you're saying he's calm, maybe there's some of that, or he wants everyone to think he's so good and make sure everyone likes him. But either way, he can put you last, and that I'll lie to you if I have to make sure everyone else still likes me or everything is okay. Now, he does have a responsibility to his son. That's his son. There's something definitely there. But even within that, if he has to lie to you to meet those responsibilities, there's a huge problem. And I don't know how you are with him, but if not to blame you for his lies at all, but we have to see, when he tells us the truth, how do we respond to things? Are you reacting to certain things as well? Doesn't mean it's your fault, but to be aware of how you are reacting to him when he tells you something you don't like about his son or about something. But to me, these lies are very, very important. But you see how big they are. They hurt you, but I think you don't want to lose him, so you lie to yourself. It's interesting. We're talking about lying. He lies to you, but then you lie to yourself that everything's okay. We moved on. You didn't move on. The trust is damaged from day one. The first time you met him, there was no trust. He lied to you about his age. And it seems like that theme and that dynamic, unfortunately, it's part of the foundation of your relationship. That the lying is the problem. That, his excuses for lying, he's not taking responsibility. Crying, even what you say, he cried about it. That matters, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, I'm sorry I did this. It makes it about him. I'm so sad about what's happening. I'm sad about the consequences. He's not sad about lying to you. He's only sad about the consequences, and that's a big problem. Sad about what I did means I can't believe I lied to you. That is not okay. Oh, you might leave me. Oh, no, now I'm so sad that I lied. That's a problem. That shows that the lying is not being looked at as the issue. The consequences are, oh, I'm going to jail now. Oh, I wish I didn't kill that person. Now I wish I didn't kill them. Okay, well, that's not actual remorse. That's just you don't want to face consequences. So you have to be aware of these the lies. The trust is not there. It's not just you being too sensitive. It's actually in some ways not being sensitive enough to the things you were realizing were not okay from the beginning and listening to those things that it was not okay. We do have to go to a commercial break. We have other people on hold, but I hope you'll take that part seriously, that the lies are not okay.
Doctor, I want to know what to do now. Can you please tell me what is the best choice? What is the best thing I have to do? Because
what do you want? You know what I do? I want to give you a chance to talk about what do you want to do next. So I'm going to put you on hold, and then we'll be right back.
Thank
okay?
you so much. Okay. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, we were with a caller. Let's go back to her now. Caller, are you still there?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so you're asking what do you want to do now? So tell me first, what do you want to do?
Just one thing I forgot to tell you, that during these past 2 years that we've been together, my son built a strong bond with him, and he really loves him, and he keeps asking me, where is he and what's happened. I didn't tell him everything, but I told him most of the things that have happened because I couldn't hide it because he's living with me, and I had to tell him, and he says, Mom, I think he really loves you, but he just tells you very stupid lies that he doesn't need to tell them to you. And maybe it's because he really loves you. He doesn't know what to do. And now it's more than a week. Every day, last week, every day he told me, I call you tomorrow. He didn't call. And then suddenly he texts me in WhatsApp, why don't you want to see me? And I just answered, every day you said, I call you tomorrow, but you didn't call. Then now I am the one who doesn't want to talk to you. And I really miss him a lot. I just see lack of his presence in my life. My son likes him. He was always there for me. Every day, every hour, every minute we were together, just except the times he's at work. But now I really don't know. I miss him a lot. Almost every day I cry when I remember our memories, and wherever I go, I remember he always took me. He didn't let me drive. He always took me, and we had coffee and food together, and we did lots of stuff. And just I asked him that night, 2 nights ago, he texted me, why don't you want to see me? I told you what I replied, and I said, you were supposed to have a blood test at family doctor. Did you go? And he said, oh, no, I forgot because I am too busy. I will call her. But now, and I will call her and talk to her. I have to go to a lab, I think, for a blood test. And it's 2 days. Again, he doesn't text, doesn't tell me anything. And I really don't know, because I cannot imagine any other man in my life. I really love him. But I don't know. You say these lies are very important. Well, I call to see if maybe I am too sensitive, but you say no.
Well, what do you lies. Well, here's the thing. You missing him or wanting to be with him right now, to me, is not an indication that you necessarily should. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. Sometimes people break up with someone, they say, oh, I still miss them after 2 weeks. Maybe that means we're supposed to be together. It's like, no, when you break up, you're tearing an attachment. It takes some time. So having positive memories of him in and of itself is not enough. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, But people can be married 30 years and then find out the person had an affair. They have 30 years of positive memories too, but it doesn't mean they have to stay together because of that. Also, the way you're saying he takes care of you, that's nice, but there's a way it's almost like he's making you feel like you can't live without him or something, the way you talk about that, which I'm sure you can and you do. But I'm not saying you have to make a decision for yourself, obviously, and how important it is to you is how important it is. But I hear in your voice that you say it's important because it is important, but then I feel that you're afraid to lose him, so you like to buy into his excuses that, you know what, he is so busy. Or even right now with your son, that's nice, but I wouldn't say you have to stay with him because your son likes him or your son's assessment of the relationship. What you're feeling matters. Couples, I know he's not your son's father, but couples sometimes will say, oh, we asked the kids, they said they don't want us to get a divorce. Well, kids are almost never, unless things are really bad, going to say, I want my parents to get a divorce. So he likes having him around. That's nice. I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to paint out that this guy is a bad person. I'm just saying what I'm hearing in you is that you discount the lies. They're important to you, but then you discount them out of fear of losing him. And I wouldn't want you to do that. But you have to decide what you want to do. And I did tell you my concern that his responses to when he is caught lying is to make excuses and to somehow make himself the victim. Oh, I had no choice. This was happening. There isn't a lot of remorse in it. It doesn't seem like he thinks lying to you is wrong.
Yeah, do you think, for example, if I put conditions, if I catch you red-handed one more time, if you tell me another lie, then I break up, or I tell him I don't know, any kind of punishment I put, or it doesn't work?
Well, see, that's the thing where you say even the word punishment, and that seems to be part of the relationship too. Of you're trying to punish him. I'm leaving for 2 weeks, which of course is also quarantine, but there was you're giving him time out, and so that type of dynamic in a relationship is almost always going to be unhealthy, where you're punishing him. It's not giving him consequences to punish him, but you do have to ask him for what you want. And it's not, I'm going to catch you red-handed and then I'm going to punish you. It's that this is not okay. Do you care about my feelings? What do you care about me? And that's the part where I'm not getting when you have these conversations with him. Does he see how it's hurtful to you when he lies? He's just, from what you've shared, is that he's defending himself. Does he acknowledge that part of what you go through?
Yes, a lot. He said sorry many times, and I know I hurt you, but I didn't want to break my son's heart. But he said many times he apologized, and now he's, I think, kind of mad that I apologize a lot, but it seems that he don't want to forgive me.
Okay.
He told it to me already.
Yeah, and it seems like, well, because he has done it again, and it keeps repeating.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, so yeah, so part of an apology is, I'm not going to do it again. But if you do it again, you don't really feel like that apology is genuine. I don't think you have the sense that he's not going to lie to you soon. So what do you think is your next step? What would you like to do?
I called to ask you, doctor. I really don't know. My tendency is to be with him because I really miss him. But if everything go back to normal, I think again I always have this fear that he lies to me. So even I have put a condition that you have to put a tracker, and I have to track you and put it in my phone and always see where you go and what you do. And he was doing that, but it was a tracker that tracks both of us. And I said, I haven't done anything wrong to be tracked. You have to find a tracker that only tracks you. And he said I have to look for it. We have to find another tracker that only tracks me, because here it seems they have forbidden if someone wants to track.
Okay, but I don't know what would be the problem if he tracks you. But okay, I don't know. But again, it's like punishment. You're trying to rebuild the trust. It's not about punishment. I think it's okay, if he's tracking you also. Not that even itself it's a problem, though. I think that you're tracking him. You have to ask yourself again, like you're an investigator. When we rebuild trust, we do need to do some of these things at times, like after infidelity, if a couple decides to stay together, you do need to be over the top at the beginning with transparency. You can check my phone, you can check this, because you need to rebuild that trust. But the way you're talking about it, like you said, it's a punishment. It's not about rebuilding trust. That's why I said there's some anger here that you almost like to express it with him or have that over him in a way that maybe if he owes you, that could be part of this dynamic even from before. Well, he lied to me about his age. I can always hold that against him. So let me hold on to this until it might be in my favor to tell him something. So I do get the sense you're afraid to lose him. The last caller had some of that dynamic too. It seems you're more afraid to lose him. Like you're talking about missing him, which is valuable and means something. But there does seem to be something missing in the relationship as far as the trust goes. And of course, right now, you can't imagine being with anyone else. That makes sense because you've been with him for a few years and you're still trying to figure out what to do with him. But that doesn't necessarily mean this is a good relationship. If you want to talk to him about honesty and things, you can. I just think more than likely you're going to be very anxious with him. You're almost always afraid of losing him or that he's lying to you.
The thing is, doctor, the most important thing, that the only thing, in my opinion, I have to be honest with myself, I have to say that the most important thing that can cause me to break up with him if I find out he's with another woman. But I did a lot of investigations. Everything you can imagine I did, but I never
I know,
found
but that's a
anything.
I know, but see, you're giving me like as if that's a good thing. The fact that you're going through all these lengths, it shows how much you don't trust him.
Because when someone lies,
I'm not getting.
Other things,
of course.
other things he's hiding from me.
Absolutely.
And he told it to me. He told it to me too. That I understand it. I lied about my son. Now you are thinking that how many other things I have lied, but I swear by God, I never ever lied anything. Just the only thing was about my son because you put a ban on it and you said you don't have to see him, and I was scared if I tell you, you lose your mind, you lose your temper, and it ruins our Christmas holidays and things like that. But it did worse. So he says, I understand that because of one lie, you think I have.
But
to
there wasn't one.
more lies.
But there wasn't one lie. We've only talked for a little while, and you told me about a few lies.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I just get the sense you don't trust him, and I understand. I'm not accusing you of something like you're suspicious. But it seems like you don't trust him because he, from the beginning, wasn't telling you the truth about some things, and then lied about things about where he was. And it's always like he has no choice. I did say before, I don't blame you at all for his lies, but being aware of, let's say he says, I want to see my son before all of this. Could he have a conversation with you? It would be important. But sometimes when the trust is broken, it's hard to build it back. And you might be in that situation with him. So I think, don't discount that feeling. Of course you miss him. That's not, necessarily means it's the right relationship. You're always going to miss someone. If you don't miss someone after 2 years, I'd be actually very concerned about you, no matter what, even if the relationship was really bad.
So you think he will lie again?
I'll ask yourself that question.
Well, maybe I'm deceiving myself. I don't know.
I think you're lying to yourself. Yeah. I mean, I think I get it. You don't want to lose him. You're saying he was taking care of you in all these ways, but this is always my issue with these things where it's like there's some basics that if you don't have, it doesn't matter if someone buys you $100 million house, but if they want to lie to you, now, I mean, if you want, you can take that. But if they're lying to you, that basic, it doesn't mean the rest doesn't matter. If you don't have a foundation, you can't have a really nice penthouse. It's floating in the air and then it collapses. So those things that he does for you, it's nice, but it doesn't mean much if someone doesn't want to give you the basics of a relationship, which is honesty, to have that trust.
So you think these are very important things that he hid?
Again, I would ask you if they were important to you. When you're saying I'm going to his house and if it wasn't important, then you wouldn't care. Why did you follow him? Why are you tracking him? You're telling yourself and you're telling me it's important. If you didn't care, then whatever. Okay, he lied about that. But clearly you do. And that's all I'm saying is you have to make a decision for yourself, but don't discount your feelings because of losing an attachment, losing someone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you built him up. You said he's handsome and looks younger than his age and he's driving a nice car. I mean, the way you're talking about him, there's this pompousness about him. like that you're attracted to some image of him too, and he takes care of me, this man. But there's also ways where he's not taking care of you that I hope you don't discount those things.
Even when the first days these things happened about 3 weeks ago, he sent some money to my bank, and he also sent me a message that I will pay for the car forever, even if you don't talk to me.
That's fine.
Forever,
That doesn't. That's
it
not
is my responsibility. I will always pay for that. Don't worry about that. Like, I just don't know what to do now.
At the end of the day, if that it's your decision, but to me that doesn't mean very much.
Doesn't mean.
No, when it comes to honesty, like he's almost saying, I want to buy my lies. How much does it cost to lie? Okay, I'll do it next time.
Yeah.
3,000 per lie? Okay, I can do that. So that's.
But don't you think? Sorry for interruption. Don't you think if this lie is just because of his son, is not that as important as if he were with a woman? Definitely, I would have never talked to him.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, well, I guess everyone can make their own decision about all these things. What I'm telling you is when you tell me the story, you tell me I was very upset about something, but then quickly you tell me those feelings are not that important because you don't want to lose him. And so I'm just saying, to me, make sure you don't lose sight of those feelings first. You still make a decision with all of that, but it seems like you're taking those feelings away because you don't want to lose him more than it's that really you want to be with him. You're more afraid to lose him.
He said, I will write on a piece of paper for you, and I will sign it, and I will promise that I won't lie to you anymore. So you think these are not important? I cannot trust this.
You can, if you want, you can give him another chance. I get the sense you will from how you're talking about it, that you don't want to lose him. It's your choice. I'm just saying, don't lose sight of the things that are important for you.
Important.
And that's up to you to figure out how much you value those things. If you want to give him another chance, you can, but just be aware of when you're trying to track him and follow him and punish him. This is not part of a loving relationship. To punish our partner is not.
He himself told me that we have lost trust, and this is not a good relationship.
I know, but even when he says that, I know, but he's blaming that on you. So that's another theme that seems like he blames you, and you take that on. Maybe I got mad at him. Maybe I got sensitive. He's blaming you for to blame you for the trust is really very, very unfair. To say you're the reason we have trust issues. I lied to you about my age on day one and all these other things, but you're the one that's the problem. There does seem to be some dynamics of blaming, the victim and himself becoming the victim of everything. So like I said, if you do want to talk to him, it's not that, okay, but you lied to your son, but if you can't tell me, we have a problem. If you can't, even if you think I'm going to lose my mind, you have to be able to tell me. And if you can't, then we are in trouble. And that these situations are going to come up again. This is not, everything is going to be easy from going forward. I do have to wrap up. We're kind of way over the commercial break, but I do wish you the best. You're going to have to make your own decision. I know you wanted me to tell you.
Doctor, do you think it's a good idea if I ask him to call you and talk to you, or it's not?
I'm not. I mean, that's up to you. I mean, that's not. I think you're thinking I'm going to be able to understand him or read his mind for you, and I'm not going to. He'll tell me the same things. I'm never going to lie again. This is why it happened.
Yeah.
My son. I mean, it's up to you. But I think you're looking for. There's no one's going to be able to tell you for sure what's going to happen. You have to make the best decision from your understanding. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much,
Sure.
Doctor.
Have a good day. Take care. Take care.
You.
All right.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to another commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So to end the show, I did want to talk about today in the United States of America, a historic day, January 20th, the inauguration of President Joe Biden. And it has been a tumultuous, maybe 2 weeks or maybe 4 years, long time here in the United States. But today did mark a transition of power. We usually say peaceful transition of power, but with what happened 2 weeks ago, it's hard to call it peaceful with everything that we experienced. And with a few weeks now that have passed since there was the storming, the attack on the Capitol, it is becoming even more real and really heartbreaking to see what had happened, and also seeing what's happening now and where we are, the current state of affairs in the United States. It is going to be a long road ahead to see how things will get better, but I am hopeful that they will. So I want to share a few thoughts about what is going on. To begin with, today some people are very happy, maybe half or maybe a little bit more than half, depending on how you cut things, are happy about the inauguration of Joe Biden, but also a big percentage is very unhappy about it.
And so we have to be mindful of the fact that if you feel like now your team won or your team is in power, that doesn't mean that all is well. First of all, doesn't mean everything's going to turn out like you even wanted. But at the end of the day, if we don't have everyone together, if we don't have some semblance of unity, we are going to be or continue to be in trouble. And it's almost ironic that we are called the United States of America when right now we are so disunited. So what happened 2 weeks ago was a shame, was really bad, was horrible. And for people who are on the left, it's very easy to point and say, see, this is how bad the right is. And yes, it was a horrible thing, a very sad thing, but this doesn't mean that everyone, all let's say 70 million people that voted for Donald Trump, are in favor of this or would do that. So we have to be aware that that doesn't represent everyone. And I see this happening from both sides, to find the craziest people, the most extreme people from the other side and say, see, look, this is what they are. This is what they all are, which is not true. And so in any group, you can find bad people. If you look in any group of Democrats, Republicans, any religious group, any cultural group, any ethnic group, you can find some bad people. And if you point to them and say, see, this is what they are, you're going to be missing the bigger picture, which is there's a lot more to them than that, and that's not who everyone is in that party or in that demographic or in that voting block. So we want to make sure we don't lose sight of the fact that there's a lot of people that are unhappy that are reasonable people too. So if you are happy today, I think also historic to have a female and a woman of color elected to be vice president. That was historic as well, and I think I was happy about that. But even if you're just happy today that your quote-unquote team is in power now, be aware that that's not going to be the solution. When we just try to overpower the people we don't like, we don't really get very far, whether it's within your country or within the world. Sometimes the American military mindset is just kill all your enemies and then you'll have peace, but this doesn't work. If you just try to overpower them and kill them, you first of all won't get rid of all of them and you'll create more enemies. We have to find a way to work together, to be together, to live together. And right now we are very polarized. I am remembering 4 years ago when Donald Trump was elected, and I did a show the day after the election. I did share that I was not happy with him being elected, not from a Republican Democrat type of a mindset, but more that even in his campaign and what he continued to show is his mindset is more about himself, but also bullying and talking bad about people to get to where he wanted to get. And to me, I was unhappy that we elected a bully to be president. Didn't matter Republican or Democrat. And I don't want to say everything that everyone does is equal. I do want to be balanced, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's all equal. I think what he did was very unfair and unfortunate, saying that, the election was rigged. I know people do feel very strongly about this, but from what we're seeing in the evidence, that did not seem to be the case. And he did not want to acknowledge that he lost more than anything else. And we saw this in every election that he did not win, going back to even primaries from 2016 or even the presidential election, saying he didn't lose the popular vote, although he won the electoral college vote. And so I think what he did was horrible, and I think history will remember that. I don't know what's going to happen as far as impeachment and the hearings and what will happen then, but I do think history should remember that what he did was contribute to more of the disunity. I think both sides contribute to the disunity, but if I look at his presidency, I can't see anything that he really did to contribute to the unity of the country. It was very much about making sure he kept who he liked on his side. I'm sure the Democrats are doing that in a lot of ways as well. I did like, at least in Joe Biden's speech, I didn't get to see all of it, but there were calls to unity. And of course, those are wonderful words, but we're going to have to see if it's followed up by action. Everyone talks about unifying and coming together, but we have to see what we do. And I hope each and every one of us will also contribute to that unification. And the first step is going to be first to recognize that you don't know everything you think you know, as far as even the facts, unfortunately, but even what is the best policy going forward. And you also don't know the other side the way that you think you do. They are not all bad, evil people, immoral, stupid, What's interesting is both sides think the other side hates America for different reasons and in different ways. But really, the majority of people don't. Almost a very small portion actually dislike the country that they're living in. Doesn't mean they don't want it to be better, but they don't dislike it. They are not trying to make things bad. And if you dehumanize and see the other side as evil, we're only going to continue to be polarized and get separated, and we won't come together. So yes, it is a big day, but the problems that we have are all still there, from, of course, coronavirus, the economy, all of that, but even just the state of our country, the state of our union here in the United States, that we are very divided. And I hope that people will always take a look in the mirror to see how they themselves can contribute to that unity. Don't look for other people who are the problem. See what you can do to be more a part of the solution. And so I'm hopeful for the country and also for the world going forward that we can recognize this and see that vilifying those that disagree with you won't get us very far. We have to find common ground and find that common humanity to come together and move forward. So we'll see how that goes, and probably we'll share some more thoughts on this, but we are at the end of today's show. Big thank you to Ghazaleh here in the studio. You've been listening to In Session with Dr. Farid Holakouee. Have a wonderful day.